A huge moo to the herd, and welcome to this Let's Play of Automation Empire. It's a relatively new game in the same vein as those such as Factorio and the likes. I can't think of any others at the moment, but I'm sure there's a whole raft of them. This one describes itself almost as a bit like 3D Factorio. The aim of the game is pretty much to get a nice automation chain running and make money. So without further ado, let's get started. Our first screen, we're presented with a series of different maps to play on. There is a total of 14, and I'm sure that more will arrive later on. Each map has their own goal, so at the moment they all seem to be the same. But we're going to start with Split Valley. That's number 1 on the list, and I think it's worth giving a shot. And our goal is to produce 30,000 kilograms of weight every 3 months. So let's start. And we're going to call this one Hoofy's LP. We're going to leave starter mode on. That gives us some basic buildings, etc. Just gets the game running a bit quicker. So once this gets loaded... I've played this a little bit just to get familiarised with the controls, etc. And it seems okay at the moment. So our mission, as we read from the main screen, get a 30,000 kilogram 3-month weight output. Seems relatively simple. So let's have a quick flip around the map. This is our starting area. This road here is where the trucks will come. We will offload goods into those trucks. Or load goods into those trucks even, and once that's full it will drive off into the distance and we'll get cash for everything we've made. So as you can see from the map, if I zoom all the way out, quite a big area. This little valley here means that we've got more resources over here, plenty of opportunities to expand into, but for the start this is the little plateau that we're going to work on. You can see these little blobs on the ground. The black ones are coal and the grey coloured ones are iron. So what have we got to start off with? Right, we have a mining rig, as you would expect, responsible for digging stuff out the ground. In this case it's coal, and if we hover over we see we're digging up coal ore, and we're doing one every 10 seconds. So that's one crate every 10 seconds, and we can have a storage of 10 crates. We have a crate maker. This will basically take the output from one of these mining rigs and crate up the goods and output it onto this unload station, where the little guy here, hello little drone, will wander backwards and forwards and load it onto the truck. Once the truck's got a full load, in this case which will be 6 crates, it will drive off and we will get some cash. Very simple startup. Power lines, everything needs to be powered, of course. These lead back to a power station. This has a capacity of 40 units, so we can power up to 40 units off of one power station. Now, each of these machines has a capacity requirement. If we hover over the power connected, we can see that the mining rig requires a capacity of 3, and the crate maker has a capacity use of 1. We've also got a drone bay. This allows us to control up to 4 drones. So as at the moment you can see, one drone's going backwards and forwards. He's loading up the crates. Off he goes, pumps it down, goes back, goes forwards. Quite slow. So one of the things we can do to speed this up is we can increase the amount of unload stations. So at the moment we've got 1 slot for unload. So I'm going to add another 2. Make it 3 actually. So we've just put down 3. What this means is that the crate maker can now, as it receives the coal ore in, can make it, stock it, shove it out onto there, and the drones can now come and pick it up. And the other thing I'm going to do is add in a second drone. So we've now got 2 drones. So hopefully things should take a little less time to get onto the trucks. The quicker we can get the trucks dispatched, the more cash we can get every month. The drones are a little bit unintelligent. They will collide into each other. They will collide into machines and kind of get stuck. So it's one of the things to bear in mind. I mean, they work. They're effective. They do the job. They're not brilliant at the job, but they do the job. Now you notice, as you've just seen, like the two of them just got stuck walking into each other. You notice that our crate maker is kind of limited by the output for the mining rig. So every 10 seconds, this gets pumped into the crate maker, and then every 3 seconds, we get a crate. So it means it takes approximately 13 seconds to produce one crate, which is fine, but it does mean we're not going to get a great backlog. So I think the first thing I want to do is to drop some more mining rigs down. Right, and I think the next thing is I want to get a minecart track in place. So first things first, we want to get some transfer tubes. And then these transfer tubes are specific in that they load into minecarts. Port doesn't accept item. Oh, wrong one. Yeah, that's the take stuff. This is the output stuff. So we're going to drop one there. And we're going to drop one here. Perfect. Now if I click on the minecart icon, I want to drop a minecart thing around here and to here. Brilliant. So I've now got a minecart track down. I've got my transfer tubes all ready to go. And now what I can do is drop, if I click anywhere on the track, I can add a cart. And this will go backwards and forwards and fill up as long as it's got capacity. Now that's pretty to look at, but it doesn't really do much. So what I want to do is I want to build a storage container. I'll put a large one in, I think. I'll just pipe it over this way. Yeah. Insufficient funds. Okay, so I need to wait for a bit more cash to come in. Right, well, what I can do is I can take a transfer tube in for the time being. I'm going to pop it down here and extend our minecart track a little bit further. Just give myself a little bit of space. Now, one of the things I'm doing is I'm extending the length of the track beyond where the transfer tube is. Because the more minecarts we add, it's going to have to go through each one of those and upload. So if I just stopped it where the transfer tube is, any carts that are after it won't be able to get any further. So that's the reason for that. Our guys are coming. Yep, we've got a bit more cash. So let's get our large container and make sure that's all plugged in. Now what will happen is as it reaches here, all the contents of the coal ore will be pulled into this container. You can say we've got 4 carts, and we'll start having a nice big buffer of stuff here. Now, once we get a bit more cash, I want to add an additional cart in. And I also want to look at seeing if I can bring this next one in a minute, because I want to try and get as many carts done as possible. Come on, off you go. Should get an injection of cash in a second. Or a subtract. Oh, there we go. There's a big injection of cash. So we've got 16 crates worth there. So just clack anyone on a track, add an additional cart, and now that's going to fill them up, and it will empty both of those. Perfect. Exactly what I want. Now I have to be careful here, because that will only go to 1. Now that's fine, but if I want to go a bit further, so if I want to bring this one in on the loop, I might need to extend this round. Now these transfer tubes can only go on straight, but the carts I'm pretty sure can go around the corner. So if I take some track, make sure that's aligned the right way, bring that round. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. And what I can do now is take my setup here, which is fine. It's doing its job. But I can get more stuff. Now, one of the things in the game is that if you sell anything, you get exactly what you paid for it back. So if you make mistakes, etc., don't worry about them. You're not going to lose any of the purchase price. That's not to say you're not going to lose anything in the contents. So I'm going to sell off all these, wait for that to be clear, clear that, clear that, clear that, and clear that. I'm going to get a transfer tube, an output one, and I'm going to pop that. Let's make sure that's all lined up before I do that. There. Right, and what I'm also going to do is I'm going to add an additional cart in. So I now have 3 carts, I have 3 drills, so theoretically I should get everything filled into each one. Is that enough space? Not quite, I think it needs a little bit more track. Right, let's make sure that works. So my storage container has plenty of capacity. It's, we're coming up for 50 crates worth, and yeah, that's filling up nicely. Good. Now let's get our revenue back in. So we go to our crate maker. What I want to do is I want to get a transfer tube. I'm going to take one of the longer transfer tubes this time because I want a bit of space. Now the thing is, with transfer tubes, they are they're connecting for use for connecting one item to another, but they don't connect to each other. So if I drop another one down, you see they don't connect to each other. So that's pretty much the distance you've got to operate on. So we'll do that. We're going to get our crate maker, spin you around, make sure that's lined up. Right, I'm going to need to run some power cables across because, as you can see, all right, so I want one there, and we'll drop one just here. Yeah. So my crate maker is now done. So what I want is an unload station. And 1, 2, 3, 2 for now, because that's all I can afford. And one thing I need to do is once you click on it, you'll need to set your drone priority to A level. In this case, I'm going to set it to high. By default, they're switched off, which means that the drones won't do anything with them. So you will find yourself, you've put all your infrastructure down and nothing's happening, and you go, it's probably because you've forgotten to switch the thing back on. It's the same with pit stops. Pit stops you can add onto your road. This is where the trucks will come in and pick stuff up. So if you don't have a drone priority set on that, it will just be ignored. Right, so we'll wait for our next truck. If you click on the tunnel, it'll give you a timer as to when the next truck's on its way. You can increase the amount of trucks that you get per time by adding additional pit stops in. So if you add a second pit stop in, you'll find the truck will be able to come in, and then another one will come in behind it. They are in the road menu. They do cost 10,000 though, so bear in mind that if you're low on cash early in the game, you don't really want to be spending too much money out just yet. Right. One of the things I want to do is to increase my unload stations. They're 2,500 each, so I want to add another 2 in, because I want to add more drones in. The big problem you've got is the distance here. So your unload station's here and your truck's there, so your drones have got to go all the way from there to here, which is a bit of a pain because more time it takes to get your goods onto the trucks, the more money you're potentially going to lose. So we'll let that one go off. Spend the money. If we look at our finances, previous month we made 13,920 and we spent 6,000 on power and taxes. So we are doing pretty well. I've got to stop clicking out that. Power costs money, even though you can put a power station down and it gives you 40 units of power, you still have to pay for it. So that's one of the things. And then you get taxes as well on top of that. Just, what was it? Franklin said there are 2 certainties in life, death and taxes. Goes for this game as well. So, once our money builds up, what we'll probably do is get a couple more drones in. Now the drone station here can allow us to control up to 4 drones. And you can look down here, you'll see a drone population. We've got 2 out of 4. So I really want to get a couple more drones in. They cost 4,000, so I'm going to buy 1 more. And that hopefully should accelerate the amount of crates that can be picked up. Now, I need to test this, but I've got a feeling that the crates will only get picked up from the end of the belt rather than the side. It looks that way, but I'm not sure if that's the case. But it's worth testing. Come on, guys. Waiting for another truck to come through. Ooh, in slight debt. Oh, I've got some money in as well. Whew. Right, truck's in, so the drone should now come backwards and forwards. Meanwhile, I've got 104 crates of iron ore sitting, not iron ore, coal ore, sitting in my large storage container. I don't know whose teeth I've got in today, but they're not very comfortable, clearly. So I may let my drones go backwards and forwards. Next thing I want to do is start unlocking some of these things. So you can see they're all grayed out. And to do that, we need research. If you go up the research unlocks up the top, you'll see that one of the first unlocks we get is the unlock refiner stroke factory. And that costs 20,000 research points. Now, to make research points, we need a research bay, which requires 10,000 credits. So the way the research bay works is it takes any material that you are currently mining and uses that as an input and converts that into research points. And it works by converting it based on the cash value. So if I go into this one here, this shows you the cash value for, I believe it's 1 crate of each item. So the more valuable an item is, the more research points you will get. So one of the early game conversions is to take this coal ore, which will give us a value of 1149, and switch that to coal, which gives us a value of 1650. So it's worth a bit more and therefore gives us more research points. The other thing about coal, if you look at the kilogram value, coal ore is worth 1 kilogram. So for every crate, that's 1 kilogram of weight. Coal is worth 10 kilograms. So it's 10 times as much for each crate of coal, which helps towards our goal because we need a 3-month weight output of 30,000 kilograms. So I need to be able to produce 10,000 kilograms of weight per month to be able to do this. So it's not really difficult maths to figure out that I would need to be producing 10,000 crates or 10,000 crates of coal ore every single month to be able to reach that target, or 1,000 crates of coal ore. So again, a really easy way to get to your target is to make sure that we do some refining. But to do that first, we need to unlock refinery. So to do that, first thing I'm going to do is add a, if I can find it, here we are, a transfer tube in. Make sure the arrow is pointing in the direction you want the material to go. And then add in our research bay in. Boink. And the last thing we need to do is to add some power. So we're just going to drop a power pole just here. Now what this is doing is it's taking the coal ore via the transfer tube. And as you can see, it is turning that into research points. Now, the research points become available after processing 20 crates. Okay, so I've got 8 crates stored, and however much time it takes to process those crates, and as you can see, we've got 1,130 research points, and our cash value is 1,138. So it's around about what you would expect. Obviously, as that value goes up, the more research points you would get. So we're going to just let that go, because the first thing I need is to unlock the refinery, and that requires 20,000. So that's exactly 20 crates, which is our first point of claiming. Meanwhile, our drones will just work beavering away, hauling crates backwards and forwards. And it does seem that they are lifting them from the end, which I suppose makes sense. I'm not sure I can rotate these. Can I rotate these? Unload station. Let's see. I want to just give it a quick experiment. Wait for another truck to come in so that they can unload. Here we go. And we'll add some unload stations there. It doesn't seem to transfer onto those, so that was a bit of a waste. But because it cost me nothing, that's fine. I think I probably need some conveyors or something to do what I was thinking of doing. But it does seem that they only take from the end. Alright, how are we doing for research? Right, we've done process 5 crates worth so far, which is brilliant. I might try and get a second research station running, but it's how I connect that in. How would I connect that in? Could I do a long transfer pole here, and then a research station here? That might work. Yeah, so I just doubled up our research. Again, same rules, 20 crates, and then you get the output on that. This will drain our container, but I don't think that's too bad. We've got constant feed of coal ore coming in. We're still selling stuff off. So as long as we've got a big enough buffer and things will keep ticking over nicely, we should all be good. So we've got 8 crates here, 1 crate there. So now the rather dull bit of waiting for things to happen. So whilst we're waiting, there are other research things we can do. There are research upgrades which increase things like the speed of carts and claw trains and drones, and you can also have trains and truck timings. So for instance, the truck interval, which is the measure we get from the road entry, you can research speeding that up. More trucks you can get, as long as you can load them in time, the quicker you can get more cash in. One of the things to bear in mind though is like the first 2 research unlocks for the refiner, factory and the step conveyor, they just require research points, nothing more. Anything else requires something slightly different. So it requires research points for the claw train. So it requires 80,000 research points. That's a lot of research points. But it also requires you to have a set amount of weight unlocked as well. So for this one, we need 1,500 kilograms for our 3-month record. So 5,000 kilograms per month for a 3-month period means that we can have the claw train unlocked. And if we have a quick look, our 3-month weight output is 60 kilograms. So we're a little bit off. We need to do a lot more work on that one. And that's the same for things like the waterworks. Again, that requires 11,000 kilograms in a 3-month period. And also 100 gold. Remote connectors, 9,000 kilograms. The combiner, 6,000 kilograms, plus 50 coal and 50 iron. The oil derrick requires 100 gold fuel and 12,000 kilograms. And the freight train, which means I think they can store more crates and are a bit faster. They're like the trucks, but obviously the trains. We need 100 steel plates, 50 gold and 8,000 kilograms. And finally, the ultimate one, 22,000 kilograms for the cargo rocket, 300 ethanol, 300 capacitors, 300 gold fuel, and 300 steel plates. So that's pretty much something you want to aim for. And obviously the 5 million research points. So it's not going to be that cheap. Now, one thing you'll see when you click on any of these is you've got power connected and water connected. Now, power is needed for most buildings to run, and that comes from power stations. Once you've unlocked the waterworks, you can also bring water in, and that has a bonus effect depending on the building. So if I hover over water connected for the research bay, you can see that if I connect water up to this, I can increase the research speed by 10%, which is brilliant. 10% faster research means that it gets closer to that 5 million research points to do the cargo rocket. If I do that for the mining rigs, you get a 30% increase in extraction speed because it enables fracking. So 30% increase in extraction speed, more minerals being produced per 10 seconds. That's going to mean that you'll be able to sell more stuff off or process it all and so forth. So again, exactly what we want. How are we doing on this? We're 18 crates here and 11 crates here. So once they're done, our goal, we've got 2 unlocks we want. The first is the refiner factory, because with the refiner, we will be able to turn our coal ore into coal. Coal, as I said earlier, is 10 times more valuable than coal ore, which means we'll get better return when we sell our goods, but also increases the amount of weight for our 3-month period, which then contributes towards our unlocks. It all goes hand in glove. The next is the step conveyor. When we build a factory, because the refiner itself is required to sit inside a factory, you need to move goods around, and that's where the step conveyors come into it. Because they will allow you to move the goods internally into the refiners and various other things. So they're the 2 research options we want, hence the reason we've got 2. Now, we've now got 21 crates available, so we can now claim the research points. You can see we're now glowing green on our building. So if I hit claim, you'll see that the 24,390 points have gone into my little inventory there. I'm still waiting on this one, but it does mean that we can now unlock the refiner. So we just select it, click unlock, and if we go into our buildings menu, we can see the refiner. And as I said before, this must be built inside a factory. You can't build it outside. It's just going to come up with an error. To build a factory, we have the option here, and this is a large building. It's just a large frame that you need to power and add water to, and that will allow us to switch this coal ore into coal and get more money and then progress further into the game. So that's where we're going to end this episode. Next episode, we're going to build our factory. We're going to unlock our step conveyors, and we're going to start turning the coal ore into coal and start getting more money and hopefully make progress towards getting more of the unlocks done and towards the end game. So I hope you can join me for that one. And I wish you a great day. And until then, bye.